Good day, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for being here for today. And yeah, quick call for today, maybe a half hour, maybe 40 minutes. Welcome to today's quick seminar with the invisible emotional knapsack and the potential of having a peaceful soul closure with this. And I really like to express my gratitude with this, that I'm able to talk about it. And I'm talking about it from the firsthand experience of this, because this is what's going on. So welcome to the call for today. My name's Stephen Sherba, and I wound up creating Emotional Soul Healing several years ago. And the intention of it is, the clear intention is to assist and start to educate others, like it was done for me, that there's another way out of whatever's going on in one's life. And I've been noticing that there's a huge drive. I'll use me as the example. There's a huge drive with the personal development world, and what I noticed, in a lot of it is the basics or the underneathing, whatever was in the foundation wasn't being addressed. So the video here, I'm simply going to enlighten us in the lightest way possible that every one of us, we carry this thing called an invisible emotional knapsack. I'll use me as the example that at one point, until my mid-30s, I carried a lot of stuff with me, and whether I liked it or not, it didn't matter. A lot of it I'd intentionally swept underneath the rug, and I said, well, look, I'll never see it again. It's gone. It's something I don't want to experience or see again. And what I learned from that is whatever was swept underneath the rug, that at one point it catches up. So I got smart enough at one point, I had an intervention with the universe. And this is where I found out that we're not as a human being, but as a human soul. I found this out because at one point I kept working and working and working and pursuing my career as a commercial pilot. I did it, loved it, and it was a severe interrupt for me, because all of a sudden I started getting acquainted with new information, and I was simply very, very hungry. I was very, very driven. I'm like, what can I do here to change my outcome? What can I do to change my life here? And yeah, a lot of it came from what I experienced when I was younger, with no judgment and with no blame with this. Because I found out many years later that each and every one of us, myself with this, that we all volunteer showing up for the well-chosen parents, the well-chosen mom, dad, the siblings, the environment, the culture, the religion, the background, the country, the ethnicity. And the other part is it involves having a soul contract. And yes, the soul contract is binding. You cannot change this because it's binding with one's soul, as it's the soul that's keeping one physically alive here. And for those that are closed-minded, or they're like, I'm not open to any of this, I'd like you to have an open mind, because I'm sharing this from the School of Rough Knocks. Yes, there is a universe. There's a source, a creator, a God, a soul. If you're open to this, I'll explain step by step a bit of what this is, and I'll do it to the best of my ability in a very simplistic way that spend some time and think about it. Because I think for a lot of us, and at one point I'll put my hand up at this, I was asking myself, what on earth am I doing here? What on earth am I doing here? Because there was many a times where I was simply working. I saw a goal and I kept working towards it. And at one point I was asking myself, there's got to be more to life than simply working, pursuing a career. And I think for a lot of us now in this new generation, there's a thing called instant gratification. And that wasn't my route. I wound up overextending an experience for about 15 years before I landed that first job. 13 to 15 years before I got my first job as a commercial pilot. And with that aside, what it taught me is that I had to have the willingness and the drive to pursue whatever we had to do. I think for all of us, we can vouch for it. If you're pursuing an apprenticeship, if you're going to school, if you're after something with this, I'm aware things are changing now. Normally, you're not going to graduate after the first day or two, after the first week. There's normally a 2 or a 4 year or higher type of an apprenticeship with us. And I found the same thing out with this. So what I'm sharing it with this is this invisible emotional knapsack. When we show up here in this physical realm, for everything that was well chosen by the soul's also going to add into it that we're also going to have a thing called an emotional human experience. Everyone goes through something like this, and it can be something as silly as a one moment, that a minute. It could be something as simple as a word. And it's not so much the word, but it can be the emotional energy that's attached to it. And from that feeling, how did it make a person feel? And I experienced it, and at one point I had overextended that for almost 25 years, 20 to 25 years, and at one point said, that's it. So this is where I took a chance on me, and I'm now talking about this. And it's simply to enlighten, enhance, or simply to share on my experiences with others that there is another way out. So this thing called an emotional, invisible and emotional knapsack. I'm sure for many of us, when we have those childhood experiences, whatever they are, the soul's aware that when we show up here, that every one of us, we're all going to go through this. We're not immune from it. And the soul is asking that, please do not be stuck by whatever that experience is. What I've noticed in the personal development world, or at one point where I really pushed the envelope as far as I was able to go at one point, what I noticed is that was something inside of me where I wound up hitting that wall, or I'd wound up hitting rock bottom a couple times, not intentionally. I was aware of with what I was physically aware of, and I did things to the best of my ability. From that understanding, then all of a sudden in my mid-30s, the right people started to show up. And the same thing will happen to you when you put it out there to the universe, like with a good intention. It has to come from a good place. That's say, universe, there's a God out there, soul, whatever you believe in. You put it out there, you're gonna run into, or you're gonna start meeting the right people wherever it needs to take you with this. I'm talking about the invisible emotional knapsack because we're not as a human being, we're here as a human soul. And I'm sharing this because the one time where I left the body, I went through the other side, and when I came back, I'm like, ooh, who am I going to talk to about this now? And it came from a place of either with a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. Privately, I'd felt either embarrassed that I wasn't able to fully accomplish with whatever the goal was at the time. And it came from a lot of strife growing up. It came from a lot of strife, a lot of political and religious type of an influence. It came from a place where not really having a voice, not being able to express. This was a big thing for me. I would talk, I would engage, and we get out there. But what I learned from it is, at one point, I had felt choked up on the inside that, look, I got something here to say. I'm seeing something from another perspective, or I had the understanding of, I see another way out with it. And at one point, I got very, very good at it. But what jammed it up for me was, what was that feeling? That feeling on the inside that whatever it was on a daily basis, I felt choked upon. And when I did hit that wall at one point, it sucked because I didn't go down. I went down hard with this. And at one point, I lost a friend to cancer with this, and while pursuing my goals and dreams, and that really rocked my world. And I'm like, geez, Louise, man. So I took a step back from everything. I said, universe, if you're going to show me this and this and this for me, and I'm sharing this because at one point I walked away from a well-paying gig. I walked away from the dream job for a while. So at one point I can always get back into it. And what I'm sharing is that I had to go back in and I had to clean up whatever was inside of me, that emotional, mental knapsack. This thing up here is a simple computer. It's a brilliant computer. You want to call it whatever you want to call it. The brain, it's a physical organ. It's the energy, the universe that we live in. Everything's dealing with frequency, energy, and the vibrations. This thing starts to record everything. The moment we're in our mommy's tummy, after 3 months, the subconscious starts to record everything, and records everything with how mom's feeling, how dad's feeling, the environment, because everything's a physical energy. We're not so much now from the universe now, we're living in this physical 3D realm, and it starts recording all this information. So despite what you may think about it, the subconscious, it records everything 24/7 by the time we show up here till the day we go. And what I found out is that when we leave here, the subconscious, whatever we're thinking about, the soul doesn't care about it because it's going to get scrubbed at one point. But what the soul is asking and praying for is, while we're physically here in this physical body, can you do the soul a favor? Because remember, we all volunteer showing up here, whether we like it or not. I'm going to add to it. If you think your life sucks, that's why I thought about at one point, I had to express the gratitude to the universe that thank you that I've been given a second opportunity to change my life with this. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what background you're in, the soul's well chosen it to learn specific lessons with it. It's simply also saying, do not be stuck by it. And I'm sharing this because the last generation of the old souls and the master numbers, those were the ones with the heavy energies with this. 99.9% of them, they didn't make it. Now, a lot of the new souls that are showing up right now, they're all stepping into the 5D since the year 2000 and onwards. So for those that are either awakened, awakening, or have no clue about this, this is what's going on. So we're talking about the third dimensional to the 5D consciousness. The universe operates in the 5D, me being from the heart with this. I'm referring to the invisible emotional knapsack because when we all have that childhood experience, and this is normally where there's an interference either from the family, the culture, or the religion. The moment when there's that interference, this is what takes a person, instead of going one way, it takes a person often in a completely different route. And what the soul's going to be upset about is it says, please do not continue with this. Whatever you can do, see what you can do to get yourself back on track with this. And this is where we have our spiritual guides that volunteer to get us back on track with this. For the simplicity of the call, or for the seminar here, the invisible emotional knapsack could often have started off from an experience from childhood where normally the interferences come from either the family, the culture, or the religion. As I mentioned earlier, it could have been as simple as one stupid word. And it wasn't the word itself. For me, it was the word mind, but it carried a tremendous amount of emotional energy attached to it. Anything where you add energy to it and you really feel it, where it shocks the system, and in my case, that it shocked the core, my core belief system with it. When it's embedded inside as an energetic feeling, and when a person thinks about it for more than 21 days and onwards, it gets locked into the subconscious, the hard drive here, as a basic program. Now, for many, I'm sure you can relate to that. When you're building a house, if you're building a business, if you're building a skyscraper, you can only build as high, or as high as you can build it, as long as the foundation underneath it is solid. So this year is a 2025 vibration, is a 9-year vibration. The universe, and it's more so going to be from the soul, it's going to do whatever it can to start shaking up, or it will start shaking up whatever's in the foundation that wasn't dealt with. And I'm sharing this in a nice way because the soul, when it decides to come here, it's invested a lot of its time, energy, and it's taking a risk that whoever shows up here in this lifetime, that it's willing to take a chance on itself and start closing up all of the 3D emotional feelings. The positive ones the soul doesn't care about. It's the things that a person feels stuck about. Either they feel stuck either from an incident where they got yelled at, screamed at, a loss of self-confidence. There's an issue dealing with relationships, the oversensitivity, either being over-emotional, the fear of expressing. And especially if it's coming from an old soul or from those with the, whatever they're coming here to share, that happens. It kind of aborts the mission. That's a whole other level down the road of what person's supposed to be doing here. It can also deal with things if there's like a grief in the family, if there's a loss of a loved one from childhood. The big one I've noticed with others, And part of myself at one point was either the feeling of abandonment or loneliness. The freedom. This is all back from childhood. I'm simply there as a reminder with this is the freedom from negative people, freedom from negative thoughts, freedom from negative thinking, freedom from anyone's unnecessary responsibilities. The other part is, which is another lesson for me, was how responsible was it towards myself, or was it overly responsible towards others, and I'd taken myself out of the game with this? Things, if there's like a loss of trust, there's an abuse of trust, and with that also includes the feeling of being in one's power with this. The other part is whatever a person's either grudging, resenting, or having a tough time forgiving, whatever the feeling is from the past, whether it's the feeling of mad, angry, or being sad, these are all the programs when they get stuck in from childhood. So as an example, you have that feeling, whatever that irritating thought is today, and you're doing everything, the meditation, the yoga, eating the organic food, thinking or being mentally active, being socially active, which are all important with this, personal development work, every day having a routine, having a structure in an ideal world, and keep and persevering whatever's going on. And for some, if they've run into a health issue, that health issue is actually an interrupt coming from the soul saying it's time to start going back on the inside and start cleaning house with what is it on the inside that needs to be cleared out. And I'm sharing this not to scare anyone. It's not there to intimidate anyone, but I'm sharing this from my own understanding. This is a real thing with this. So whatever the irritation is, whatever that feeling is on the inside, whatever that burning itch, whatever that burning frustration is, or that reoccurring thought, if you take a moment and having the understanding that whatever this is, I'll use me at one point, there was either the resentment, the grudge, or deep down inside, there was, at one point, I was assigned with a task where I'd felt overwhelmed. And unfortunately, I think for many, they weren't either given the right guidance, the right leadership, the right direction, or the ability of communicating or speaking. And these are, as an example, these are the examples that I went through with this. And when the basics are not properly addressed, so back with the invisible emotional knapsack, whatever's not properly expressed, whatever's not dealt with, it starts compounding. So we have that initial experience, whether it's a word with a lot of energy attached to it, whether it's experienced or perceived through somebody else. What that is there, again, after 21 days, it gets locked in as a program. So say from a younger age, normally between the ages of 5 to 9, somebody has an experience. Some may talk about it, some may keep it quiet. Some may not say anything about it. And normally for the kids, they have no clue of what's going on. Other than they obey the parents, they obey mom and dad, they obey the system with this, and they keep going on with this. Now, some may have a lesser type of experience, and that was the case. Just say thank you, universe, for that. Some may have their spiritual gifts awakened from a younger age. And they're all like, man, I had this experience. Some people got scared from it. What I'm sharing is from that childhood experience. When that's not properly handled, it can be a thing like either feeling sad, loss of trust, and it could be something simple. Mom and dad were either in a bad mood, or they had their own stuff, or they weren't dealing with their own things in their own life. And maybe for those 2-3 minutes, they took their frustration on to somebody else. Again, with no judgment and no blame with this. And what wound up happening is that they took it, they thought about it for those 21 days, and then all of a sudden, a year, 2 years later, they had another experience. Maybe the initial one was a shock to the system dealing with pride, or the shock of having a tough time expressing, or it affected one's self-confidence, or it was the fear of either expressing, the fear of either getting in trouble, the feeling of not good enough. And I'm sure many can relate to that. With whatever it is, so you have that initial experience of something a year or 2 years later, they feel the feeling of of guilt or sadness. Another year or 2 years later, the feeling of loneliness. the fear of either expressing, the fear of getting out there, or with whatever's going on. As I said, there's no judgment, there's no blame with it. But whatever that person's thinking about, and normally by the time they have their fifth, sixth, or seventh, maybe their 10th experience, whether it's pride, guilt, shame, anger, despair, resentment, overly responsible, under responsible, either whatever is in the inside voice, either they're resenting something, hating something, or the way they got treated, they're not liking it. And then all of a sudden, this is what's in the foundation. And whatever was attracted or experienced from childhood with mom and dad and from the family, at one point later on, we want to mirroring this in a relationship with somebody else. So for the gentleman out there finding a nice lady, or for the women out there dating that ideal guy, and then they find out after that honeymoon phase that all of a sudden, geez Louise, they find out that, man, was I dating mom? Was I dating dad with this? What's the energy? What was the feeling underneath it? And for most of them, all of a sudden they have the shock that they were mirroring something that came back from childhood with that. And this is where they need to close things. So this emotional knapsack, this invisible part there, I'm using the word invisible because it's there, but for many of us, we're not able to see it, but we can feel it. The feeling's important with this. And I'll use this as an example here. I've got a simple charger cord here for the phone. I think everyone's got one of these. To every one of us, the biggest thing that we're coming here to close from the soul's perspective with the invisible emotional knapsack is, where did this feeling come from and who gave me this feeling? And the moment I can identify it, when you start doing a proper guided meditation, the awareness of it is the most key and important ingredient with this. The moment you have that awareness, the moment you become aware and you're like, geez Louise, I've been holding on to that one feeling. There's an energy when you think about something, or when the phone rings and you're already anticipating that phone call, saying maybe it's the colleague, maybe it's the business opportunity, maybe it's the client, maybe it's mom or dad on the phone, maybe it's the wife or the girlfriend or whoever else is there. And when you're really dialed in, you're like on cue with this. So that has a thought, it has an energy to it. It's the same thing with this type of an example. So what I'm referring to with the invisible emotional knapsack, it's important if you decide at one point to start cleaning up whatever's on the inside, you have to go back to, where's this bottom feeling coming from, back from childhood. The moment you identify it, and when you start working with your spiritual guides from light through a proper guided healing meditation, we start identifying, where's this initial trigger coming from, who gave you that experience, and then the next question is, do you want to hold on to it, or do you seriously want to drop it and let it go? And this is where the ascension with this, the spiritual growth, the personal growth, and I'd say more so, it's the real growth that a person attains. This has been absolutely an outstanding amount of personal growth that I've been able to attain with the universe, with my soul, and with my guides. I got an education unlike anything else. And I'm sharing this to inspire others that it's attainable. It's not some pie in the sky type theory. It's not some woohoo thing, because for many, when they get sick or when it affects their health, or they lose their career, they lose their job, or all of a sudden they're here today and they're gone tomorrow, it has a ripple effect on a lot of people. The soul's asking that whatever this feeling is, whoever gave that person that initial feeling, can you please do the soul a favor and can you cut this cord? Can you unplug it? To that proper guided meditation, we start unplugging whatever that initial experience is, because it's the initial one, it's the boiler point, it's the trigger point. Whatever happened, that's the one that was the culprit, and that's what needs to get unplugged. And the moment you unplug it from oneself, wherever this is coming from, you unplug it from them. This is where you start unplugging and taking the ownership and the personal responsibility, which is essential in this new 5D consciousness. This is where you can start to liberate and free oneself for whatever I said earlier, when we run into those experiences, or we hit rock bottom at one point, or it affects one's health, or running into the same repeated patterns. Once you start unplugging all this, then at one point, you're like, oh my God, I was holding onto this invisible emotional knapsack. And I'm sharing this because the moment when that ownership is it's a self-discovery process. When you have that feeling, when you have the awareness, you decide, I don't need this anymore, and you start unplugging all this. I'll share it from my own experience that at one point, for the first, I came here with a larger size soul contract, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, when I found out about this, I wasn't mad. I mean, I was really boiling about this at one point because this should have been as a general schooling or general knowledge for the masses. I have the understanding why it wasn't put out there. With that set aside, we're now in the 5D, and at one point, this is going to become public knowledge that where things are going with this, in order, either the humanity is going to be split into two directions with this, either staying in the 3D, where they refuse to either grow up, they refuse to change, or like not going to do anything with it, or the head in the sand, or it's as a choice where the soul says, well, okay, in this lifetime, the person's only going to stay in the 3D world. There's no judgment, there's no blame with it. But for those that are already in the 5D or deciding, I see something that I can clean it up, whatever it is on the inside. When you start cleaning it up, it starts liberating one's inner energy, that inside energy. There's work involved with it. There is personal accountability with it. There is personal accountability and responsibility with it, and full 100% ownership of it. Because the only person that's ever going to change is the person that's looking in the mirror. And that was a tough pill for me. At one point, I mastered very well, saying, look at me, I've got the success. I had a sport bike, commercial pilot. I thought I was doing well. I had a six-figure paying job with it, doing something else. And at one point, the universe stepped in saying, look, you need to drop. For me, I had to drop my emotional knapsack. And it took a lot of guts. It took an unbelievable amount of guts, a lot of risks, smart risks, and the risks that I was willing to do, or the risks I was willing to take to clean up whatever's on the inside. And what I'm sharing with this, whatever I was holding on to, the moment I started releasing these called, whatever this feeling is, whatever these cords are, they're soul agreement type, they're emotional entanglements. The belief systems that we hold on to today that are coming either from the family, the culture, the religion, are all inherited to these beautiful things called feelings and emotions. Some are good, most of them, from my experience, they need to go. And the moment that these start being cleared out, and your person starts really going on the inside saying, I need to have a fresh beginning with this. This is where the 5D is going with this, because at one point they're going to be introducing at any time right now, they're going to be opening up the medbed-based technology. And with the medbed-based technology, it's going to physically address the body, but a person still needs to do the inner work, the inside work, which is the way that a person thinks and the way that they feel about it. The invisible emotional knapsack is the technology that's, I'll use me as an example of what I'm doing with this. We're not going in taking everything out by the teaspoonful. We're literally going in with the front end full-size loader with this and going all the way down. And it's not so much with the physical person I'm sensing or whoever I'm doing the work with. We're doing it with the person and with the soul at the same time. And we're clearing out the lock, stock, and barrel of things. Childhood experiences, whatever the interferences and the toughest soul agreements, the biggest ones for anyone out there is from mom and dad. And for every person, they can clear that out, this place would revolutionize within a few years very, very quickly with this. Then the other one's the culture and the religion with this. And as you're doing all this, as you start unplugging all this, it's like taking the massive red pill. And there's no going back. You can't go back to the old system because the 5D is here. It's already been fully activated. And it's simply like a wondrous opportunity that I'm sharing this to inspire others that do whatever you need to do with this. Feel the excitement, feel wherever you need to be going with this. Feel wherever that urges, wherever that pushes, with whatever you need to go with this. You'll be steered in the right direction with this. And the moment when you start going on the inside and you start clearing up whatever these emotional entanglements are, whatever these It's the negative ones that need to come out. The strife, if there's people going through a divorce, a separation, they're not grounded. If there's a fear of speaking, a fear of being in one's power, the fear of leadership, if they need their freedom. Freedom can be a big one. Personal responsibility. As I'm saying, it's also a reminder for me at every new level, I got to go back and start readdressing what is inside of me that I need to take a look at. The invisible emotional knapsack, when enough of this initial triggers and the boiler points, when they're all unplugged, when you start to really go in there and start unplugging all of it, and it has to be done with your spiritual guides and the light, they'll assist you with this in the most positive way. It's not just some random thing where you go in there and start unplugging everything. It doesn't work like that. It's to unplug the negative or the unnecessary cords or whatever is that gem, that initial experience. This is what needs to come out. And once you become aware of it, then it's like you have a new choice, a new action, and a new decision. What can I do going forward to change this, or implementing and doing something else with this? And the moment that ownership is taken, things start to shift. Then whatever a person had felt either as a resentment or same with the money and the time set aside, all of a sudden they start feeling this drive that, ooh, this is attainable. I can do this. Or now I'm going to go do something that I've always wanted to do this. And there's many people out there that have been super successful, that have become wealthy, or they've dialed in with their career. And what I've noticed, and I'm sharing it from my own experience, some or many of them, despite the success, despite their career, there's still something in the back of their mind that they're like, I've done all this inner work, I've done all this personal development work, and there's still something that, whether it's procrastination, stagnation, check out, or checking out, for many either still a numbing out, and or it's simply that unsatisfactory feeling, whatever that feeling is on the inside. Going through a proper guided meditation and take a chance on yourself and start to unplug whatever it is about whatever is in the bottom. I'm sharing the message here because at one point it's going to affect every one of us. I'm sharing it in the nicest way. I'm simply here as the messenger. And as the messenger here, it's to educate and start instilling that, or sharing just from my own experiences, that it's attainable. It takes work with it. And it doesn't take a lifetime to address with one's personal life. This invisible emotional knapsack, unfortunately, it's been accumulated for not just from this physical lifetime, although this lifetime is most important because it's this lifetime that has our name on it, or has my name on it. This is where I can do the most amount of positive collateral damage with cleaning up whatever happened from the past. The moment I take the full ownership of it, it's not only affecting this lifetime, then energetically with our spiritual guides, I started having the understanding, and for many others, that they started clearing up energetically all the other past lifetime recycled experiences. And technically, it was all the same crap, it was all the same type of, or the similar type repeated experiences. When we show up here, the soul is fed up saying, look, we need to close all this and then start something on a brand new clean slate. Because for many of us, I think at one point as we get older, there's a lot of gunk, there's a lot of mess. For those that are 50, 60, 70, 80, or older or younger, many of us, we'd like to be able to attain with having a peaceful soul closure. And a peaceful soul closure can be as simple as spending the time going in there, cleaning a house. And it doesn't take a lifetime with this. I'm emphasizing a few things either 2 or 3 times as a reminder that it's attainable. It's not some pie in the sky type thing. It's attainable, it's workable. You have to work at it. And given the right guidance, the right direction with this, and the rest of it, you start getting, it's initially to get a person on their feet with this. Once they're on their feet with given the proper guidance in the right direction with it, the rest of it is how hungry is a person with cleaning up or clearing out whatever is on the inside, getting the right guidance initially, and then at one point they start trusting their own system. Because every one of us, we're all gifted, we're all coming here to do something else, and it's to keep trusting whatever that inside voice is, whatever that inside feeling is. It's to trust one's own intuition. When you start trusting and honing in on this intuition, this inner feeling, step by step, the doors start to open up. And as things from the foundation, as they start to clear out, all of a sudden, this heavy, invisible emotional knapsack, or say if there's a health concern, the moment when that resistance, that emotional resistance is properly released, all of it starts to clear out. So it's not just I'll mention this very, very clearly. It's, if you're thinking this is a magic pill, you're in the wrong place here, because that doesn't exist. Unfortunately, for every one of us showing up here, none of us are here on a picnic. This is the place where, in order to change this is why the free will's there. The free will is there to make a new choice. The free will there is to make a new decision. It's like two sides of the menu. For myself, at one point, I experienced too much of the negative while pursuing the positive route with this. The moment I dropped this completely enhanced the positive side of my life. And I just said, thank you, universe. And I kept moving. I kept running with this. I'm going to do whatever it takes with this. So the invisible emotional knapsack, it's an opportunity that wherever you're going with this, if you'd like to reach your full potential, I can just share from my own understanding, from my own experience, I can only go as far as whatever I've not dealt with from the past. The moment I properly clear out, the moment I've dealt with whatever happened from the past to the best of my ability, I've cleared it all out, then I start seeing the potential. The potential, I'm going to use the key word here, the potential of having it initially as a peaceful soul closure, with closing everything up to the best of my ability, which has been done. It's simply there that it's to close the initial tough soul agreements with mom, with dad, and for anyone else that the roughest experiences, when those are closed and severed, the soul's going to say, thank you so very, very much, whatever you're doing in there. You can assist as little as one other human being with us, and this honors the soul contract as a peaceful soul closure. So I will leave this as such, and for those that are listening, for those that would like to like it, share or comment on this video here. For those that are here today, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your time with this. And it's simply an opportunity that I'm sharing with that this is where things are going with us. Going forward from today, going forward, it used to be in the past for those that could read or write. Now it's for those that are, what are they willing to completely unlearn? And back with this here, to unplug whatever it is that's no longer serving them, and then upgrading or uploading with their identical self, with their soul, the new positive version of themselves, embodying the best of it, dropping the old stuff completely, dropping the older soul agreements. Because for many of the old souls and the master numbers, we're coming here to do something else. I share it from my own experience. It's not just going to show up in a person's lap or it's going to unfold in some mystery package with us. It's something that's self-discovered. I mentioned there earlier, it's a process of self-discovery. When you earn it, when you're learning it, and you earn with whatever you experience, it's yours to keep. This is what I've learned with this. And again, thank you very, very much for your time with this. If you have any questions, you can send me an email or a link to, say, info@emotionalsoulhealing.com, or you can find my website at emotionalsoulhealing.com. On there, I offer several of the meditations, and with that, I offer a course as a peaceful soul closure. It's on sale now, and it's there for 6 to 8 weeks, depending if it's a small soul or an old soul. We take 2 weeks off. Then I repeat the program the second time, no charge, and we got out as much as possible. And then others start getting back on their feet, and it's an opportunity to keep fast tracking, doing whatever they need to do with this, and being back into the driver's seat. So this is where the 5D is going with this. It's being in the driver's seat with us. So I thank you for your time, and once that invisible emotional knapsack's cut and dropped, you attain that peaceful soul closure, other doors start to open up. So till next time, be kind, treat each other well, and enjoy your day.